Commander Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the ESS Artemis, her weathered hands gripping the command rail as she stared into the endless void of space. The colonial defense vessel had been tracking an unusual signal for 3 days, leading them deeper into uncharted territory beyond the outer rim. After 15 years of protecting human colonies from pirates and hostile alien races, Sarah thought she'd seen it all. She was wrong. "Signal's getting stronger, Commander," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station. "Whatever it is, it's big." Sarah nodded, her short silver-streaked hair catching the blue glow of the holographic displays. At 45, she'd earned every gray hair defending humanity's expansion into the stars. Status of the stealth systems. Operating at 98%, we're practically invisible. The signal had appeared suddenly, its pattern unlike anything in their database. Initial analysis suggested it was either a distress call or a warning. The linguistics team couldn't agree which. Either way, Sarah's instincts told her investigating it was important. The Artemis emerged from faster-than-light travel into a system dominated by a massive red giant. There, floating in the crimson light, was their target, a colossal structure that dwarfed their ship. "Holy shit," Rodriguez whispered. "That's got to be at least 30 kilometers long." The structure was clearly artificial, its surface covered in intricate geometric patterns that pulsed with internal light. As they watched, sections of it began to move and reconfigure, like a massive puzzle box solving itself. "Multiple energy signatures detected," the tactical officer announced. They're everywhere. The structure is generating some kind of field." Before Sarah could respond, the field expanded, enveloping the Artemis in a sphere of shimmering energy. Every system on the ship went dark, then reactivated with new data streaming across the screens. Data in an alien language that somehow translated itself into perfect English before their eyes. A voice filled the bridge, seemingly coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Vessel ESS Artemis, you have been chosen. Prepare for ascension." "Chosen?" Sarah muttered. "I don't like the sound of that." "Shields up, weapons." The command died in her throat as the bridge dissolved around them, replaced by a vast chamber of crystal and light. Towering figures surrounded them, their bodies composed of shifting geometric patterns similar to their structure's exterior. Sarah and her bridge crew found themselves standing before what appeared to be a council of these beings. "The collective welcomes you," Commander Sarah Chen, one of the figures announced, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "We have searched many galaxies for a species worthy of joining us. Humanity has proven interesting." Sarah stepped forward, her hand instinctively reaching for a weapon that was no longer there. "And what exactly does joining you entail?" "A union," another figure stated. "Through you, our civilizations will be bound. You have been selected as the prime candidate for integration with our highest order." The realization hit Sarah like a plasma blast. "You're talking about marriage." A simplified term, but accurate, the first figure confirmed. "Our analysis shows you possess ideal genetic, psychological, and leadership qualities. You will be paired with Xareth, coordinator of evolution." A new figure appeared, its form more defined than the others. While still composed of geometric patterns, Xareth's appearance was almost humanoid, though it towered over Sarah at nearly 3 meters tall. "This is not a request," Xareth stated, its patterns shifting in what might have been amusement. "It is destiny. Your species stands at a crucial junction. This union will determine humanity's fate." Sarah's mind raced. The implications were staggering. These beings clearly possessed technology far beyond human capabilities. A wrong move could doom not just her crew, but potentially all of humanity. Yet something felt off about the whole situation. "And if I refuse?" The chamber darkened slightly. "That would be unfortunate. Your species is not the first we have encountered. Others who rejected our guidance no longer exist to regret their choice." Sarah straightened her spine, years of command experience taking over. "Then let me be clear. I'll cooperate, but I have conditions. My crew's safety is non-negotiable, and I want full disclosure about your intentions toward Earth and its colonies. Xareth's pattern swirled in what might have been approval or amusement. Acceptable. The ceremony will begin immediately. Your crew will be returned to your vessel, unharmed, to witness the proceedings. As her crew vanished back to the Artemis, Sarah caught a glimpse of something in Xareth's shifting patterns, a flicker of what might have been concern or fear. These beings, for all their power, were hiding something. And Sarah Chen, veteran of countless battles and master strategist, knew one thing for certain. She was going to find out what it was, even if she had to play along with this cosmic marriage of convenience to do it. The ceremony began, but Sarah's mind was already working on her next move. Whatever game these beings were playing, she intended to change the rules. The fate of humanity might depend on it. Sarah stood at the viewport of her new quarters within the massive alien structure, watching the ESS Artemis float serenely in the crimson light of the red giant. The ceremony had been brief and bizarre, more like a complex exchange of energy patterns than any human ritual. Now she found herself officially bonded to Xareth, though she still wasn't entirely clear on what that meant. Her quarters, at least, had been adapted to accommodate human needs, though the geometric patterns that characterized the collective's architecture remained. Every surface seemed alive with subtle movement, responding to her presence in ways she couldn't quite understand. Your thoughts are troubled. Xareth's voice resonated in her mind as the towering figure materialized in the room. After 3 days of these sudden appearances, Sarah was almost getting used to them. Wouldn't yours be? She replied, turning to face her alien. Spouse. Partner. Even the terminology felt wrong. You still haven't explained why the collective really chose humanity, or me specifically. Xareth's patterns shifted in what Sarah had begun to recognize as discomfort. The reasons are complex. Your species possesses unique qualities. Save the diplomatic answer for someone who hasn't spent their career reading between the lines, Sarah interrupted. I've seen how the other collective members react when they think I'm not watching. They're afraid of something. Before Xareth could respond, Sarah's personal comm device, one of the few human technologies still functioning, chirped with an encrypted message from the Artemis. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice came through, tense and urgent. Commander, we've detected unusual energy signatures from the structure's core. They match readings from destroyed human colonies we've investigated, the ones we thought were hit by unknown weapons. Sarah's blood ran cold. She looked up at Xareth, whose patterns had become eerily still. Want to explain that? It is not what you think. Xareth's voice carried an edge of desperation. The collective is not responsible for those destructions directly, but we know what caused them. They are coming, Sarah Chen. The Devourers. The name sent a chill through the room, the geometric patterns on the walls briefly distorting. The collective exists to fight them. Xareth continued. We seek out species with potential, trying to prepare them. The unions, like ours, are meant to transfer knowledge, technology, defensive capabilities. And you couldn't just ask. Sarah demanded. Had to force marriages instead of formal alliances. The Devourers can detect traditional military preparations, but these bonds, Xareth's form flickered. They are invisible to them. Biological, psychological, beyond their comprehension. A second message from the Artemis interrupted. Commander, we're picking up multiple FTL signatures approaching the system. Configuration unknown. Sarah's tactical mind kicked into high gear. The Devourers. No. Xareth's pattern swirled in agitation. Worse. The Purists, a faction within the collective that believes we should face the Devourers alone. They see these unions as contamination of our species. They have sabotaged previous attempts. Those destroyed colonies, Sarah realized. The Purists did it to prevent integration with humanity. Yes, and now they come to stop us as well. Xareth moved closer, its massive form looming over Sarah. I should have told you everything from the start. The deception was Tactical, but wrong. Sarah's mind raced with implications. If Harith was telling the truth, humanity faced threats it couldn't possibly handle alone. If it was another deception, but her instincts, honed by years of combat and command, told her this fear was genuine. How long until they arrive? Hours, perhaps less. Sarah activated her comm. Rodriguez, full sensor sweep. I want everything you can tell me about this structure's defensive capabilities, and get me a secure channel to Earth Command. What are you doing? Starith's patterns swirled in confusion, saving both our species, hopefully. Sarah's expression hardened. But from now on, we do this my way. No more secrets, no more manipulation. If this union is supposed to be about sharing knowledge, let's start now. Xareth's form seemed to expand slightly. The purists will not negotiate. They will destroy everything here to prevent the union from succeeding. Good thing I'm not planning to negotiate. Sarah's lips curved in a grim smile. I've spent my career protecting human colonies from threats they said were unbeatable. Time to see if your people can keep up with human ingenuity. As if in response to her words, the structure's internal lights pulsed, and new data streams appeared in the air around them, the structure's systems responding to their combined presence. Sarah realized that whatever else this forced union might be, it had given her direct access to technology that could save humanity, if they survived the next few hours. Show me everything, she commanded. Weapons, defenses, communications, especially anything the purists won't expect humans to understand. As Kareth began sharing the knowledge Sarah demanded, neither of them noticed a small disruption in the structure's patterns, a hint of discord in the geometric harmony that suggested they weren't the only ones preparing for the coming battle. The massive structure's corridors pulsed with crimson warning lights as Sarah and Kareth raced toward the central control nexus. Through the viewport windows, they could see the first wave of purist ships emerging from FTL travel, their vessels resembling crystalline shards that cut through space itself. 15 minutes until they're in weapons range, Sarah announced, her voice steady despite their pace. The structure's systems were now partially responding to her thoughts, feeding tactical data directly into her mind. It was disorienting but necessary. Your people build impressive ships. The purists have modified themselves to become living weapons. Xareth's patterns shifted anxiously as they moved. They've abandoned much of what made us. Us. They believe purity of form is the only way to survive the devourers. They'd reached the nexus, a vast spherical chamber where streams of data flowed like liquid light through the air. Sarah's bridge crew had been transported here, each officer interfacing with the alien technology through hastily adapted control surfaces. Status report, Sarah commanded. Rodriguez looked up from his station, his eyes slightly unfocused as he processed both human and alien data streams. Structure's defensive systems are online, but we're seeing some strange fluctuations. Something's interfering with the power distribution. Sabotage, Sarah concluded. The purists must have agents already inside. She turned to Kareth. You said this union gives us shared access to systems. Does that work both ways? Can you interface with human tech? Theoretically, yes, but good, because I have a plan, and it's going to require both of our technologies working together. Sarah activated her comm link to the Artemis. Execute Protocol Omega. Authorization Chen 7 Delta. Through the viewport, they watched as the Artemis's hull began to reconfigure, panels sliding apart to reveal modifications that were definitely not in any official registry. When you spend enough time fighting pirates, Sarah explained to a visibly surprised Kareth, you learn to keep a few surprises in reserve. The purist fleet was spreading out into an attack formation, their ships moving with perfect geometric precision. But Sarah had spent her career studying patterns, finding the weaknesses in seemingly perfect strategies. They're expecting a defensive battle, she said, her eyes tracking the enemy movements. They think we'll turtle up behind the structure's shields and try to hold out for reinforcements. That's what previous unions did, isn't it? Xareth's patterns swirled in confirmation. It is the logical strategy given our respective capabilities. Then it's time they learned about human logic. Sarah's fingers danced across the control surfaces, merging human tactical systems with the structure's vast database. Your people built this station to be a fortress, but they forgot something crucial. The best fortress can also be a weapon. Understanding flickered through Xareth's patterns. You intend to take the fight to them. Better. Sarah's grin was fierce. I intend to make them fight themselves. The plan came together rapidly. Using the Artemis' experimental stealth systems combined with the structure's ability to manipulate energy fields, they began creating phantom signals throughout the battlefield. To the purest fleet's sensors, it would appear as though dozens of collective structures were phasing into existence around them. Their programming is rigid, Xareth observed, its own patterns beginning to shift in rhythm with the tactical displays. They will be compelled to engage all perceived threats according to their doctrine. Exactly. And while they're shooting at ghosts, Sarah initiated the next phase of her plan. The structure's geometric patterns began to shift and flow, entire sections realigning themselves. What had been built as a defensive fortress was transforming into something else entirely. Commander, Rodriguez called out, we're detecting more anomalies in the power grid. Someone's definitely trying to sabotage the reconfiguration. Can you locate the source? Negative. The interference is coming from multiple points, all shifting. Sarah turned to Xareth. Your people can phase through solid matter within the structure, right? Could purist agents do the same? Yes, but there are ways to detect them if... Xareth paused, patterns freezing for a moment. The union. Our combined essence creates a unique energy signature. They cannot mask themselves from that. Sarah nodded. Link with me. Full integration. It could be dangerous. No human has ever. No time for caution. Sarah interrupted. Those saboteurs will tear this place apart if we don't stop them. Their energies merged, Sarah's consciousness expanding to encompass the entire structure. The sensation was overwhelming. Every corridor, every chamber, every pulsing geometric pattern became an extension of her nervous system. And there, moving through the walls like viruses through a bloodstream, she could see them. The purest agents, their patterns sharp and discordant against the structure's harmonious flow. There, she gasped, the effort of maintaining the connection straining her mind. Level 42, Section 11. 3 more in the power distribution hub. Another group heading for the core. Xareth's presence steadied her, their combined awareness bringing the chaos into focus. Security units are responding. But the fleet is about to learn why you don't underestimate humans, Sarah finished. The Artemis had maneuvered into position, its modified systems perfectly synchronized with the structure's transforming architecture. As the purest fleet engaged the phantom targets, the real trap was ready to spring. Sarah's consciousness stretched to its limit, simultaneously coordinating the internal security response and the external battle plan. Through her neural link with both human and collective technology, she could feel every system, every weapon, every surge of power. The structure completed its transformation just as the first purist ships realized their mistake. But by then, it was too late. What had been a defensive fortress was now a massive energy focus, channeling the power of the nearby red giant itself. Time to show them what a real union can do, Sarah declared, her voice resonating with both human determination and collective power. As she gave the command to fire, none of them noticed that the saboteurs' patterns had begun to shift in a very particular way. A change that suggested this battle might be exactly what someone had been waiting for. The combined energy of human ingenuity and collective technology erupted from the transformed structure, cutting through space like a blade of pure light. The purest fleet scattered, their perfect formation dissolving as the massive energy beam carved through their defensive lines. But something was wrong. The power readings are fluctuating, Sarah announced, her consciousness still merged with the structure's systems. The beam is getting stronger. But I'm not. We're not controlling it. Xareth's patterns flared with sudden realization. No, this is impossible. They wouldn't. The beam's intensity doubled, then tripled, far beyond their intended specifications. Through their shared awareness, Sarah felt Xareth's mounting horror as the truth became clear. The saboteurs, Sarah gasped. They weren't trying to stop us. They were waiting for this moment. The structure's power core was now pulsing with dangerous levels of energy, the geometric patterns throughout the station distorting with strain. But the purist fleet wasn't retreating. Instead, they were repositioning themselves in a new formation, one that would reflect the overcharged beam directly back at the structure. It's a trap, Sarah realized. But not for us. The purists aren't trying to stop the Union. They're trying to trigger something else. Through their merged consciousness, Xareth shared a flood of ancient memories. The collective's first encounter with the Devourers, the desperate search for allies, and a terrible discovery. The Devourers aren't a separate species, Xareth revealed. They're what remains of civilizations that tried to harness too much power too quickly. And the purists, they believe the only way to survive is to trigger the transformation voluntarily. Sarah's mind raced, processing the implications. The Unions weren't about preparing for an external threat. They were about preventing civilizations from becoming devourers themselves. Yes. Xareth's patterns swirled with grief. But the purists believe we can control the transformation, use it to achieve true transcendence. They've been manipulating these unions, pushing civilizations toward the tipping point. Warning alarms blared throughout the structure as the reflected energy beam approached. Sarah could feel the power core destabilizing, the very fabric of space beginning to warp around them. Rodriguez, she called out, get everyone back to the Artemis. Emergency evacuation protocols. Belay that, a new voice commanded. Sarah turned to see one of her own bridge officers, Ensign Parker, step forward. His form flickered, revealing purist patterns beneath the human disguise. The transformation has begun. You will all ascend, willing or not. More disguised purists revealed themselves among both the human crew and the structure's staff. They had infiltrated both sides, playing a much longer game than anyone had suspected. The collective is stagnant, Parker declared, his human voice distorting as his true form emerged. We unite with lesser species, hoping to prevent the inevitable. But the Devourers have shown us the truth. True power comes from embracing the transformation. The reflected energy beam struck the structure. Sarah felt it through her neural link. The station's systems beginning to break down at a quantum level, energy patterns shifting toward something alien and hungry. But in that moment of crisis, Sarah noticed something else through her enhanced perception. A flaw in the purists' plan. The human element of their merged consciousness was affecting the transformation in unexpected ways. Xareth, she communicated through their link. The union isn't just about sharing knowledge. It's about evolution, isn't it? But not the kind the purists want. Understanding flowed between them. The structure continued to transform, but not toward entropy and hunger. The merged human and collective consciousness was creating something new, a synthesis rather than a destruction. You're right, Xareth responded. This is what the original architects of the Union program intended, not to prevent transcendence, but to guide it toward cooperation instead of consumption. Sarah turned to Parker, and the other revealed purists. You wanted transformation. You're about to get it, just not the kind you expected. She fully opened her mind to the union with Xareth, their merged consciousness spreading throughout the structure. The geometric patterns began to shift again, but this time with purpose and harmony. Human creativity and adaptability combined with collective knowledge and power, creating a new form of energy manipulation that neither civilization could have achieved alone. The purest fleet's reflected beam was caught in the new pattern, its destructive power converted and redirected. Space itself seemed to bend as human and collective technologies worked in true synergy for the first time. But even as they fought to control the transformation, Sarah caught a glimpse through the structure's long-range sensors. More ships emerging from FTL. And these weren't purist vessels. Their configurations were chaotic, hungry, all-consuming. The Devourers had arrived. Well, Sarah thought to Xareth through their link. Time to see if this union of ours is really as powerful as everyone thinks it is. The structure's patterns pulsed with combined human and collective energy, preparing to face a threat that would test not just their power, but the very nature of their unprecedented alliance. The true battle for the future of both civilizations was about to begin. The Devourers' ships warped space around them as they approached, their forms defying conventional physics. They weren't just vessels, they were wombs in reality itself, each one radiating an insatiable hunger that threatened to consume everything in their path. Through their merged consciousness, Sarah and Xareth watched as the purest fleet's formation broke, their perfect geometric patterns shattering in the face of true transcendence gone wrong. Parker and his revealed conspirators stared in horror at the approaching abominations. "That's your grand evolution," Sarah declared, her voice resonating with combined human and collective power. "Still think it's what you want?" The structure hummed with energy as Sarah and Xareth's unified consciousness directed its transformation. The geometric patterns were no longer merely technological, they had become an expression of something new, a true synthesis of human and collective potential. "Commander," Rodriguez called from his station, still loyal despite the chaos. "The Artemis's systems are picking up quantum fluctuations throughout the sector. The Devourers aren't just attacking. They're trying to alter the fundamental laws of physics in this space. They're preparing to feed," Xareth explained, patterns swirling with ancient knowledge. "They don't just consume matter and energy. They consume possibility itself. Every reality where life might flourish becomes fuel for their endless hunger." Sarah's tactical mind, enhanced by the union, saw the pattern within patterns. "Then we give them something they can't digest." Through their link, she shared her plan with Xareth. It was audacious, probably impossible, and exactly the kind of thing no purely logical being would attempt. The human capacity for illogical innovation. Xareth's patterns rippled with something like admiration, combined with collective power. "Exactly." Sarah turned to her crew and the remaining loyal collective members. "The Devourers expect resistance. They expect fear. They expect their victims to try to fight or flee. We're going to do something else entirely." The structure's transformation accelerated, but not toward weapons or shields. Instead, the geometric patterns began recreating themselves on a quantum level, generating new forms of spacetime that even the Devourers had never encountered. "Parker," Sarah called to the purist leader, "you wanted to transcend your current form. Here's your chance. Help us or get out of the way." Perhaps it was the certainty in her voice, or the sight of true transcendence bearing down on them, but something in Parker's patterns shifted. Other purists followed, their rigid forms softening as they accepted a different path to evolution. The Devourers struck with reality-warping force. Space twisted, time fractured, and the very fabric of existence began to unravel around the structure. But where their entropy met the new patterns Sarah and Xareth had created, something unprecedented occurred. The geometric patterns multiplied exponentially, creating layers of spacetime that the Devourers couldn't simply consume. Each layer contained elements of human adaptability and collective stability, forming a complex matrix that turned the Devourers' own hunger against them. They can't process it, Sarah realized through their link. They're designed to consume ordered systems, to break down structured reality. But the patterns they'd created were neither ordered nor chaotic, neither purely human nor purely collective. They were something entirely new. The Devourer ships began to falter, their reality-warping field struggling to maintain coherence as they encountered physics they couldn't dominate. The structure's transformation reached its peak, generating waves of hybrid energy that spread through space like ripples in a cosmic pond. Through their merged awareness, Sarah and Xareth guided the process, their unified consciousness directing the evolution of space itself. The purists, seeing their error, added their power to the effort. Even the Artemis experimental systems contributed, its human-designed quantum matrices synchronizing with the new patterns. The Devourers tried to retreat, but the changed space-time followed them, transforming the very medium through which they traveled. Their ships began to shift, their hungry void forms encountering something they couldn't consume or corrupt. "They're not being destroyed," Sarith observed. "They're being reformed." The process cascaded through space, each transformed section affecting those around it. The Devourer ships, caught in the wave of change, began to exhibit new patterns, not the rigid geometry of the collective, nor the chaos of their corrupted form, but something that combined the best aspects of both. As the transformation completed, Sarah and Tarith gradually separated their consciousness, though their connection remained stronger than ever. The structure settled into its new configuration, now a living testament to what different species could achieve together. The former Devourer ships hung in space, their forms now radiating a different kind of energy. Not hunger, but potential. Not consumption, but creation. "Well," Sarah smiled, her hand passing through Sarith's geometric form in what had become a gesture of affection. "I guess we'll have to show them. Together." The structure's patterns pulsed with renewed purpose, ready to serve not as a fortress or a weapon, but as a bridge between civilizations. The forced union that had begun as a tactical arrangement had evolved into something far more significant, a template for how different species could face the future together, growing stronger through their differences rather than despite them. And somewhere in the transformed space around them, new patterns were emerging, suggesting that this was only the beginning of a much greater evolution.